Swear I won't forget this, why do I regret this? In my mind reckless, thoughts are feeling endless. Sitting up I'm breathless, anxiety's infectious. I feel so defenseless, betrayed and embarrassed. I hate being open, I hate being broken. I feel like an ocean filled up with emotion. Anger ain't a potion, rub it on like lotion. I can feel it soaking, reopen, the scars have awoken. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hope. Cause I can't move on till I let go. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hope. Cause I can't move on till I let go. I'm just lost to feel, I need time to heal. I can't steer the wheel, cause this driving kills. And it gives me chills, a nice road it feels. I slip off the peel and crash all the steel. Will I ever heal? I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hope. Cause I can't move on till I let go. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hope. Cause I can't move on till I let go.
The cause of it, but he breaks free and wreaks havoc on Haddonfield once more. We also have Laurie's estranged daughter, Karen, and her granddaughter, Allison, who essentially, Allison acts as kind of a new character for newer audiences to attach to. And yes, that's essentially the synopsis for this film. Back to you, Film Exorcist.
On to the cast. We have, and let me get to that, I am so dumb. It's directed by David Gordon Green, produced by Malik Akkad, Jason Blum of Blumhouse, and Bill Black. It was written by Jeff Fradley, Danny McBride, and Dave Gordon Green. Music was done by John Carpenter. We also have his son, Cody Carpenter, and Daniel Davis. Cinematography by Michael Simons. We have Jamie Lee Curtis back as Laurie Strode, Judy Greer as Karen Strode, Andy Matachka as Allison Strode. We have Nick Castle back, baby, in this movie, reprising his role as Michael Myers along with his stuntmen, James Jude Courtney. They are both Michael Myers in this movie, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a fun ride. We have Haluk Bilginer as Dr. Ranbir Sartan. We have Will Patton as Frank Hawkins, a well-known character from the original movie that tried saving Laurie. We have Fionn Reese as Dana Hines. Jefferson Hall as Aaron Curry. We have Toby Huss as Ray. Dylan Arnold as Cameron Ellen. Huh.
Yes, I am in this movie.
We have Mile Robbins as Dave. Drew Schroyd as Oscar. Onto the slasher stats.
Alright, I'm excited to get back to Halloween slasher stats. Alright, starting from the top, we have 3 stabbings in a variety of fashions. We have 3 that are strangled, 2 beaten with a hammer, 1 person neck broken, 1 jaw ripped, 1 head bashed, 2 impalements, 1 head stomped, 1 throat slit, 1 decapitation and face carving, 1 person brutalized, 1 person burned. I wonder who that was. We have 16 people killed by Michael Myers, another person killed by somebody that we will mention later on, and then potentially 1 person killed by Laurie Strode. I'm putting 18 as the total for the kills. Again, 16 for Michael Myers.
Right. And on to the favorite kill. I guess I'll go first since I guess I'm the leader, most of you would say. Honestly, I couldn't pick one. I accidentally picked 3. Journalist gets...
Before you begin, we'll just tell everybody in the audience, now we're going to start going into spoilers, so if you haven't seen the film, pause it, check out the film, come back. But if you want to be spoiled, hey, we're not holding back for you. Talking about everything now, from here on out.
Yep, first one would be journalist, also known as Aaron, gets banged around. A bit of something similar to Rob Zombie's first reboot, where we watch, Joe Grizzly gets his ass kicked in the bathroom stall. Second one, cop gets carved like a motherfucking jack-o'-lantern. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, holy shit. And then, last but not least, Michael crushes the Doc's head like a pumpkin. Yeah, you'll find a lot of pumpkin-related kills in here, but this one was honestly up there high in my top 3. I mean, it shows us the brutality of Rob Zombie's movies that we've known a bit well through the years, but it also adds a little more to what we know and love about Michael.
Yeah, there was some passion to it. Tucker, what was your favorite kill or favorite couple of kills?
Well, clearly the number 1 would have to be a flashback to the original kill, back through the kid's eyes. I just thought that was a great throwback. But one for these actually from the new movie, the one I keep going back to in my mind and telling people that this movie is not like the first one, so much more violent, is the first time that you see the guy who works at the mechanic shop, his jaw broken off on the table. That was the moment I realized that this is going to be a completely different tone of movie with like a lot more gore and a lot more serious, just like showing what actually happened rather than, cutting away and hearing the stabbing noises.
Cameron?
Well, Dr. Sartain is definitely needs to be mentioned again just for the sheer brutality of it, because this film is trying to be within the vein of John Carpenter's films, and yes, there is blood and things like that in his films, but rarely something so visceral and like in your face. And like you said, it's something that you would have expected from Rob Zombie's take of Halloween. What's so amazing about this film is the mixture of the two things. We have kills that are similar to John Carpenter's take, where it will cut away or we'll just see part of it, and then we have others where we see it right in your face. Like Tucker mentioned the jaw being ripped by the attendant at the gas station. And then, aside from Dr. Sartain's, one of my kills, other favorite kills, was the young woman looking through the window. That whole scene of Michael looking through the window, you see his reflection, you see him going around, and the camera stays still, it stays focused on the window, and then so you know something's going to happen to her, and then boom, you just see the kitchen knife go right through
her neck,
her throat. So it's just a beautifully shot scene. It may not be the most creative kill, but it was one of the scenes where I was like, this scene could have been shot by John Carpenter himself.
I agree with that. That was really impressive. I was sitting there with my friend. We were looking at, I was waiting for it to cut somewhere, but then when Michael actually goes out of the scene for like 4 or 5 seconds because he's going around the house, and then you see him pass by very far in the background. Then he leaves again. The shadow is on the wall from whatever light is behind there, and I just thought that effect of the fact that he's stalking around and you can't see him at some points just like adds another level of just tension.
Honestly, I was gonna put that in the honorable mentions along with this one kill that actually got me thinking of Vicky's boyfriend gets stabbed straight through the throat and is hung by the knife onto the stairwell. It's just, it goes along with that brutality we see, like the woman with the window you guys just mentioned.
It's also a great callback to when Paul was stabbed in the original film, and he was pinned to the cabinet, and so I think that was definitely, there's so many little callbacks. I don't think I would be able to name all of them off the top of my head.
That's one of the things I actually had. I went with about 4 of my friends, and I had them all watch the original Halloween the night before, and obviously I watched it with them because none of them had ever seen it, and it was really fun for me. I've seen that movie 5 times maybe. It was really fun for me alongside them to understand all the callbacks and going to the pull open closet and get the flashbacks to the original kill and the callbacks to the different kills that mimic what the original did, and that was probably one of my favorite parts of the experience, is how much they had called back to it, and I think it was really worth watching it, the original, the night before.
Right. On to the least favorite kill, which for me would have to be Miss Elroy gets hammered. It was so underwhelming, and all you see is Michael going behind her, and that's it. Not a shadow, nothing that actually gives an idea of what he did.
We do the camera eventually. It's again one of those scenes. It's very Carpenter, reminiscent of Carpenter, and it's in the trailers. You see him pick up the hammer, go into the house, and then you just hear him bashing her brains out. But then once he picks up the knife, the camera does follow him, and we do see her head bashed in her. It's bloody. Yeah. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Halloween 2, where Michael Myers goes into that house with the elderly couple and picks up the knife. So it's kind of like, what would Michael have done if he wanted to kill that couple? Because he clearly, that woman just kind of reminded me of that elderly couple. And that whole scene kind of seemed like a callback to Halloween 2.
Right. What about you? Least favorite kill?
For me, I would say it was when the reporter girl, I can't remember her name, but when she got killed in the bathroom stall, because we got so much of that teased in the trailers, and also it was kind of underwhelming near the end because Aaron came in to save her, but obviously that didn't work out so well for him or her. But I just think it was kind of disappointing, not only because it was underwhelming, but because I think it would be much more interesting to the plot if at least one of them had survived. Which is one of my only complaints about this entire movie, is that they killed off both of the podcasts, the investigative journalists, and they could have done so much to further the plot, like keep around an extra interesting protagonist, essentially.
And Cameron?
I think Tucker makes a good point. I wouldn't say Dana's killed, but I would actually say Aaron's, because we do see the life essentially being strangled out of Dana, but we still actually see Aaron alive when the scene ends. He's defeated and he's bloody, but we don't really know what Michael does to finally. Yeah, I mean, does he leave him there and then he just dies of his wounds, or does Michael do something even? Yeah, he kind of leaves it up for interpretation, and we never find out exactly how Aaron dies. Speaking of kills, we learned some things about Michael Myers. This film does an excellent job of giving us a little bit more of an understanding of why Michael Myers does what he does, with still a hint of mystery. Like, we don't have all the answers to why he does it. So we find out that he won't kill babies, but he will kill children. One of my favorite scenes, and also one of the most frustrating scenes in the film, is just before, or it's not just before, but after the bus crashes. There's that father and son, and they're hunting, and it's stupid for them to go out. But after they make their stupid decision, that whole thing plays out very effectively and creepy. We do realize that. I guess we might have to update our theory, because I saw a video and I thought it was really exceptional that if Michael Myers is this true force of evil, he would have killed the baby. But of course, all of the audience would probably have hated that. And then secondly, we didn't ever hear about him killing anybody in the insane asylum. So the theory of this guy, I think the channel is 3C, he proposes the theory that Michael Myers is not killing because he's the embodiment of evil. He's killing because of the challenge. He's killing because he likes being the hunter. And I think that this film, that theory works with this film, and it does jive with the first film too, as well.
Right. On to the facts. We have a budget of $10 to $15 million. We have a box office of over $90.5 million. This movie brings back the famed pumpkin opening from the first 3 original movies.
It actually, what it is they recorded an entire time of a pumpkin rotting, and they played it in reverse. They did a time lapse of pumpkin going from full down to rotting, and then you could see the cracks split. So if you played that forward, it would have just looked like a pumpkin. But if they played it backwards, you came back together and you saw that original face with the slice from the nose to the mouth and the stupid grin. That was one of my favorite things. I was smiling that whole time just because it was interesting to watch. It's definitely much more interesting than the original pumpkin. I still think I would put the pumpkin from Halloween 3, like the digital one, above the original. But it was a really nice take on the original pumpkin, and that's one of the few things I actually told my mom about when she asked about the movie, because she might have found that interesting.
Right. Laurie's daughter is surprisingly very ill-informed. I mean, through most of the time, you see all this going on, and she is completely unaware. She has no idea about the bus crash. She looks at Laurie like, what the hell are you talking about? Get out of here. What bus? I mean, come on. Don't you watch the news?
I found the relationship between Karen, the daughter, and Laurie really interesting due to like current events and things like that. Like, I feel like Karen Strode is kind of like she says that she's telling Laurie like, oh no, the world isn't as bad as you think it is, and Laurie's like the type of person that is like, no, I've seen the world, and it's actually a horrible place, and you need to be prepared for how horrible it is. And there are some people out there that don't deserve mercy, that don't deserve being humanized. And it just reminds me of just several instances throughout current events where like there was a terrorist or there was like a school shooting, and then you have like Rolling Stone or some other place try to humanize and go, oh, we should just try to understand, and then I can just picture Lori being like, no, these people were evil, like they did, and you can, I'm not trying to get political or pinpoint on any specific topic, but I just see Lori, the relationship between Lori and Karen, very like reminiscent of like some current events and maybe where our culture is at, like the whole concept of like being scared of guns, where, back in Lori's day, back in the 70s, like everybody, handled guns, whether they used them or not. They familiarized themselves with, gun safety and handling guns. And then whereas today, like the word gun is almost like a bad word. You shouldn't even say, the way people are just so afraid of guns. So, anyways, I just thought that was kind of a nice touch to current events.
Yeah, I
think
liked
that
it.
brings in a pretty good point about how this film is so different from the original. Is it's more current to the times. Everyone is kind of, they fit into the more current tropes that they feel like modern characters, and it everyone's a little more different because all the characters in the original, like the three main girls and all the teenagers, at least, they're pretty much carbon copy generic characters, to say it lightly. But in this thing, everyone has a little more personality, and I think that just goes to show like horror has, it's evolved, and the characters are a little more interesting. Which is one of my favorite parts about this movie. I think almost every background character ended up being an interesting character. And I talk about one with my friends. Every character you were introduced with, whether it be the cops who were talking about sandwiches, or that one kid that girl was babysitting who was just, he said shit. He said like a bunch of stupid stuff because he's like an 8-year-old kid. It was really entertaining. All the characters had like a personality that was really easy to latch onto.
Lori is not only a survivor, but she's also watching as her daughter and her granddaughter. So two other generations of her family becoming the things that she never wanted them to be. She tried to protect them from those things, but she knew ultimately that you can't completely protect your offspring, your family from the cruelties of the world. But what you can do is you can prepare them, and guess what? They survived. And it worked. And actually, I thought the whole concept of, the daughter finally accepting, like, hey, maybe this wasn't the best upbringing, but this prepared me for this moment. And I just thought that was just an excellent legacy for Laurie Strode. Like, she may, have had those failed marriages. She may not have been the best mother, but you know what? She's the reason why her daughter and granddaughter are still alive.
Right. Again, we talked about the smart as fuck black kid that Vicky was watching. I mean, let's just bring it back to him. I mean, the kid literally, he is as smart as you'd want someone in this world to be. And then, as soon as he sees Michael, he's running away, telling the boyfriend downstairs, I believe David, he tells him to get the fuck out, don't go up there, you're screwed, and then he runs out the door and calls the police.
Also, I believe, and I might be wrong with this, but I believe he's the only character who, like, verbally curses when Michael Myers is coming after them.
Yeah.
He goes, oh shit! It's character development, just your dialogue.
He acts as a contrast to Tommy Doyle. Like, the other babysitters are all trying to fool around to get laid and get high, and I don't think Tommy or Lindsay ever caught on to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of just shows that the way times have changed since the 70s. Like, even little kids know all about, they know about slashers. Like, he knew, hey, if there's a guy with a knife in the house, get out of there. Like, don't even entertain it. And then he was also not fooled by, Alakazam, and so he saw through it. So it just kind of just showed the difference in the way that children are compared from the 70s to now. So.
Right, and honestly, I feel that I'm pretty sure he's seen Scream. I mean, anyone that knows all those rules has to have seen Scream, because honestly, they made up those rules. And here's this kid literally taking them to point and understanding, oh shit, I better get out of here.
And I think that brings back my point about how all the characters are much more developed. Like, the characters know about horror movies. They didn't grow up on B series, like crappy sci-fi horror flicks with giant birds and attacking crabs and stuff like that. That kid has seen some horror movies. He knows what the heck's going on. He knows he knows what to do in a situation. And that's not something that I can say I've seen in many other horror movies, and I think it's just done really well and very entertaining.
So I wanted to bring up, make sure that this is a talking point, because this is one of the most controversial parts of the film. I mean, I've seen several reviews, and all of the negative reviews, they might not explicitly state it, but after you watch the movie, you know exactly what they're talking about. But I want to talk about Dr. Sartain and the twist about what he does, because I guess for those that did not like the movie, that is their biggest complaint. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on it before I tell you where I stand on it.
I completely thought he was a total douchebag, and I just felt, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And actually, the point I noticed is he's kind of a crazier version of Loomis. I mean, yeah, he's Loomis's student, but it seems Loomis's craziness bled into his teachings and just made him completely worse. And then that whole scene with him wearing Michael's mask is why.
Well, to me, I'd say the Doctor he is a much more interesting character than Loomis, but he's not as memorable, because he doesn't have as many scenes as Loomis did. He doesn't have as much of an impact on the movie, I would say, but he's definitely more memorable, and the twist I honestly really enjoyed. I thought that it took the whole fact that Michael is a mental patient, and he has had people watching over him for this long, and it takes it another step into human psyche, and what would happen if a doctor tried to figure out what was going on in their head by becoming their patient. And I honestly, as someone who really enjoys psychology, I took psychology last year, I thought that it was, I really enjoyed it, and I thought that it was an interesting parallel when he put on Michael's mask. And also, I think it would have been a lot better if they had showed through the eyes of Sartain when he was wearing the mask, and then revealed that it was him instead. But that's another point.
Yeah, no, I defend the scene as well. A few of the folks over at Killer Flicks that are a little bit more critical of the film, they're like, they say that they didn't like it, and they felt like it was pointless. And so to address the fact that of how important it was to the story, the whole theme of the movie is about obsession. And then we have this third version of obsession, which is which is the obsession coming from the doctor. Like, when you become so obsessed and wanting to experience, as you said, Tucker, to experience the same things as your patient, you're like, oh, what is it like? But also something that hasn't been mentioned is he's the whole reason why Michael Myers ends up going after Laurie, because as we find out in this film, Laurie wasn't, one of his main targets. It's not his sister. We find out that he goes after, folks that kind of cross his paths. He picks and chooses who he kills, and it adds more depth to who Michael Myers is. He's not this force of evil that just kills everybody that crosses his path. So he's not like Jason Voorhees. He doesn't just kill children that live on a certain street like Freddy Krueger. He picks and chooses his targets. And that's something that we still haven't seen fully fleshed out yet, but it takes Dr. Sartain basically, delivering Michael Myers to Laurie for him to kind of, be directed to go after Laurie. I mean, he has his chance to go after Laurie when Laurie shoots at him, and he's like, no, I'm not going after her at this time because she's armed. Again, I think it goes to the theory of Michael Myers is for the challenge, and he's not going to just go after somebody that could take him down. He's gonna. It's going to be at the right moment and at the right time. But anyways, back to Dr. Sartain. I think it was an excellent twist, and I think it absolutely elevated the story and made it something a little bit more than what it was. And so I guess I don't understand folks that are disappointed with that aspect. There are surely weaknesses in the film, but I don't think Dr. Sartain was the weakness. Was a weakness in the film. So.
Right.
Sure.
On to the next point. Anyone else feel that Allison's boyfriend was a little too close to Brandy from Halloween 4?
I didn't pick up on that similarity, but I guess they're pretty similar.
I mean, if you pay attention, basically, as soon as Allison goes off to go talk to her friend on the phone, we pan, or at least turn back to him, and we watch him kissing this other girl, and then as soon as Laurie comes back, oh my god, as soon as Allison comes back and asks him what the hell he's doing, and then decides to walk away, he basically pulls a Brady. He acts like nothing happened. He basically acts similar to Brady when he said, oh, well, she was the next best thing, you didn't want me, so I'm gonna move on.
It could be a callback to Brady, but you know what's crazy is he didn't die. That's such a departure from the rules.
Oh, yeah.
The kids who are doing the naughty stuff, the drinking and the cheating on your girlfriend, those are the ones who are supposed to die. But this kid wasn't even really involved. After she left the party, you didn't see him again for the rest of the movie, which I was actually thinking, oh, well, he has to die. Like, he was one of the main characters from the beginning, and then we never see him again. He never shows up, and it broke the trope. And I don't mind that he didn't die, but I think it's an interesting choice that they made.
On to the next one. I love the sight of Michael's hand after Laurie literally blows off half his fingers with that shotgun. I mean,
oh yeah.
You don't see it until later on, but you hear the gunshot, you see Michael pull away, and then as he's going after her and her daughter, you just see one of his fingers missing. I think it was his thumb, and it's like, he can be harmed.
I think he's missing his pinky and his ring finger, actually.
Oh, wow.
That's what I saw.
But still, it's just...
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we get that kind of with Jason. I mean, if they were dumbly going to make a sequel, it would basically be like how Jason in that one movie, I can't remember which one, wore a work glove to show, or at least hide his hand, which was split in two.
Yeah, I mean, I know I told you this, and you didn't like this. You didn't like this, but Danny McBride, who was one of the co-writers of this film, he originally said he had 2 films planned, and I think it was either Blumhouse or one of the other production studios were like, wait, we need to test the waters. We need to make sure this film is successful first. So I know some folks might not like this, but I mean, a sequel is very much inevitable at this point. I mean, it's done very well. So I think we can all agree, though, that we hope that this is the end of Laurie's story. This is the perfect place to end her story and move on to different characters.
I think that if they do make an inevitable sequel, Laurie should die in that one, in the first act or something like that.
Nope. They already did that with 2 movies, and it did not work out well. I mean, yeah, 4, it was basically just a call.
It has more solid creative direction. So I feel like they could make it more plot central.
But still, honestly, I don't want a sequel. It would ruin this perfect ending to the story of Michael and Laurie and the whole Strode family and Myers family. I just feel, why ruin a good thing like they've already done in the past?
I think it might be better to pull a Halloween 2. Pick up directly after this one and have it be a more focused on Michael and his trying to actually finish his job, which was trying to kill them, trying to get revenge for her blowing off his fingers and all of that. If he survived, implied, but that kind of deal rather than a 5 years later, Michael Myers has been on the loose. But if they pick up directly after and do a more focused story on Michael and Laurie's final battle rather than what they did in this, which is essentially serving the end of the movie for that. But I feel like that could be a true final ending, is what they were trying to do with the first one was end the franchise with Halloween 2, but actually do it with this one.
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, Laurie did have a stab wound in her stomach, so if they went that route, like they basically tried to do a more focused and structured Halloween 2, it couldn't start with Laurie died on the way to the hospital, and then you have Karen and Allison who are being treated for their wounds. Michael Myers obviously going to the hospital to maybe do some Rambo-style medical work on himself, maybe even have like some sort of weird prosthesis or something for his hand. Something, they could do something really creative and like crazy, but in a fun, entertaining way. And then, they could do it more, because I know Brandon and I mentioned this with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, that first hospital scene in Rob Zombie's 2 felt like a missed opportunity. Like, it was great. It caught my attention. It was actually my favorite part of Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And it's all a dream sequence. It's all like Rob Zombie could have done Halloween 2 like, the original and just made it his version. But instead he's like, I'm just going to do an homage and I'm going to do like a weird, acid trip sequel for storyline for the rest of the film. So
honestly, if they do a sequel, I'd rather see something. I find it hard to say this, but I'd rather see us push away from Michael's story, because I feel we're completely done with that whole chapter and just move on to something else.
What if they actually made an anthology series?
I mean,
what if they continued the story of Halloween 3? Halloween 3 too.
I mean,
there are so many avenues to what makes Halloween scary. Like, they don't even have to do Season of the Witch 2 or Michael Myers. Just create something for this that fits within the season and that feels at home with the other films, if you will. Like, it could be a sequel to Season of the Witch, or they could come up with a completely different concept, and then just every couple of years coming out with a new Halloween that's a different take, and then maybe by different directors, so there's a different vision for these films, and then so you get kind of different takes of like what makes Halloween so horrifying.
Right. Onto another point I had to make. We get the scene that everyone knows so well in a lot of the Halloween movies. Somebody gets thrown off a balcony. Here it was Laurie. It was also Laurie and Michael in Rob Zombie 1. And then Michael falls off in the original.
Yeah, it was a good like way to switch the situation, like a reversal. And it was interesting for Michael to like expect to see her down there, and then she's not. I bet he had a surprised expression. But it would have been interesting. This is a different topic, or maybe it goes to that scene. But it was interesting that throughout the film, everybody was trying to get Michael Myers to talk. Like, that was the big thing. Like, they just wanted to hear what he had to say. And again, it just goes to, like, our current events. Like, we're always trying to understand some things. And it's like, well, maybe we can't fully understand it. Maybe Michael Myers is like this enigma where, like, we can get ideas about him. But, yeah, I just found it interesting that on more than one occasion, they keep trying to say, oh, we just want to hear Michael talk. Just say something, anything like.
Right. And my last point is Laurie comes out of the... This is my favorite, honestly, my favorite scene in the original, but here it is here, vice versa. Laurie comes out of the shadows like Michael in the original. I mean, you just see Laurie come out of nowhere, come out of the shadows, like you'd see Michael before he stabbed her in the original. The prey has become the predator.
And I think that's what they were paralleling. She has sort of, in her preparation to defend herself from her fears, she's become her fears. She watches her granddaughter come across the street. She ends up falling off the deck. She is the one with all the weapons. She's the one coming out of the shadows, checking the closets, the one with the big knife, the one shooting him, all of that. She has become the predator, and I don't know if that's necessarily what she intended, but it clearly makes an interesting parallel.
Right.
Yeah. So the interesting thing though is she's become a predator, but she hasn't become like Michael Myers. So it's like the good version of like Michael Myers has those skills. He could have if he wanted to. He could. Yeah.
Like, what would the power be if it was in the right hand?
It's more of like if I had to put it, like almost kind of like. Well, I'm a big fan of the Flash, so you have the Flash and the Reverse Flash, and they have very similar powers, but what they decide to do with them is very, very different. And so by the end of this film, Laurie has the same type of drive that Michael Myers has. Like, she will stop at nothing to stop Michael Myers. And Michael Myers is, again, this unstoppable force as well. Like, he will not be stopped until you're going to have to kill him if you want him to stop killing. And that's what they decide to do in this, is they create a trap and then, set it on fire and, burn him alive. But it's for good in Laurie's hands, because it prepared herself, her daughter, and her granddaughter to a lesser extent. But they end up surviving, but Michael Myers had that ability. If he wanted to, instead of killing his sister, he could have protected his sister. He could have become, a father if he wanted to, and protected. You know what I mean? Like, he had all these opportunities and roads he could have walked down, but instead he's like, you know what? I'm going to sneak out of my bedroom. I'm going to go out of the house, re-enter the house, stalk my sister, and kill her. And then when he gets out, he's like, well, I'm going to go after these babysitters, and I'm going to kill anybody that gets in my way, essentially. And so,
right. Hey everybody, if you're wondering why this video is probably missing the last 10 minutes, it's because, again, the last 10 minutes, the audio was a bit off. Cameron had to cut it out, so I'll be doing the outro. The ratings we gave this movie were for Cameron it was an 8 out of 10. For Tucker it was a 9.5. And for me, because I liked this movie so much and envied it as an ending to the series, I gave it a 9.8. And again, we'd love to thank Tucker for helping us out on this review, and we will leave down in the description a link to his channel, and hopefully he'll be with us more throughout the many videos that we are going to continue doing. And please, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment. This movie has been saved and protected by the Film Exorcist. Hopefully you enjoy it when you go to see it, or if you haven't seen it already in theaters. It's a really good movie and I highly recommend it. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, have a very spooky night and enjoy.